whole week to ourselves and to our families and to our jobs. And today we regard this day as his day. But all of them are his day. But this is a day that we can actually show our love for God in worshiping the way that he would like for us to worship him. And you know, God doesn't ask for a whole lot, I believe. The expectation of us is the love that we have for God. We will show that when we have the opportunity. So we want to thank God for allowing us to be here this morning. If we have visitors here, we certainly welcome you. We want you to enjoy yourself today with us. And we actually, if you have any questions or any desires that you have of the congregation, please make that known to us, and we will respond in the best way that we can. Again, we'd like to say good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. We are certainly blessed to be here this morning. And for one, we've had a long weekend, but we're thankful that we're here this morning, and we're here for the purpose of worshiping God in spirit and in truth. We are to sing with an understanding and sing with the Spirit. We'll start this morning seeking the lost. Seeking the lost. After this, we'll have our announcement. Seeking the lost. Seeking the lost, yet kindly entreating, wanderers on the mountain astray. Come unto me, his message repeating, words of the Master speaking today. Going afar, upon the mountain, bringing the wonders back again, into the fold of my Redeemer, Jesus the Lamb, for sinners slain. Seeking the lost and pointing to Jesus, souls there are weak and hearts that are sore, leading them forth in ways of salvation, showing the path to life evermore. Going afar, upon the mountain, bringing the wonders back again, into the fold of my Redeemer, Jesus the Lamb, for sinners slain. Thus I will go on missions of mercy, following Christ from day unto day, sharing the faith and raising the fallen, pointing the lost to Jesus the way. Going afar, upon the mountain, bringing the wonders back again, into the fold of my Redeemer, Jesus the Lamb, for sinners slain.
Good morning. Welcome to the McAlmont Church of Christ and its morning services. If you are visiting with us, we want you to know that you are our honored guest and we appreciate you being here with us this morning. And if you are with us via live stream, we want you to know we are happy that you are watching us this morning. And when you ever get the time to be with us in person, we would love for you to be here with us. My name is Dwight Ware, and I have the announcements for this morning. I'm going to try my best to be brief, but I want to do the announcements diligently. Teachers meeting today. We have a teachers meeting today at 4 p.m. in the educational building, room 16. Teachers meeting today. Evangelism training, Saturday, January the 4th at 9 a.m. That's evangelism training. And please remember to send your pictures for the online directory. That's each member of the family is to submit a picture or a family picture for the directory. But if you are a member of the body here, we want you to send an individual picture for your profile. And I think that's all I'm going to do from the bulletin, because most of you were handed bulletins this morning, and it wouldn't be good to receive them and not read them. So, please join us at a party for Mabel Mullins. Her 22nd birthday. No, it's her 80th. That's 12/28 at 2 p.m. That's December the 28th. 1615 Battery in Little Rock is hosted by her family, the White family. Let me make sure we get this date. 12/28 at 2 p.m. 1615 Battery in Little Rock. I have some cards here, and I'm going to read them. Thank God I can read them now. I left my glasses at home. I had to borrow some because I can't see much, but I can see now. Thank God. With special thanks to all of you, to know you is to know people who are kind, considerate, thoughtful. To know you is to be grateful for special things you do. For everything you've done, for being a special people that you are. Thank you so very much. Thank you, McAllen, for the many gifts received for our housewarming. We love you, Trudy and Troy McKinney. For the kindness shown through the way you care, for thoughtfulness and the blessings you share. To our church family, thank you so much for the outpouring of love as we go through this transition in the loss of our beloved Uncle, Houston Gregory. We appreciate all that you do, and that we want you to know not one single gesture went unnoticed. We love you all, the Gregory family, Kenny Hart, Holmes, and Miles families. It takes a special kind of person to care enough to take time for others, to do whatever it takes to help someone out. The Houston Gregory family would like to thank you for all your prayers, cards, acts of the show of love you've shown at this time. Love always, the Gregory family. This is from Doris Gregory. For everyone who have done, for everything you have done, for everything you have given. Thank you. That's it. Let us continue to pray for our family members who have lost loved ones. Let us together pray. Our Father God in heaven, we thank you for this day and the blessings of life. We thank you, Father, for being a God to us. We thank you, Father, for waking us this morning and waking us, Father, in our right minds. We thank you, Father, for this opportunity to be gathered together in this assembly. We thank you, Father, for giving us the things that we need daily to sustain ourselves. We thank you, Father, for giving us your word that we may be guided to you and stay with you. We pray, Father, that we will humble ourselves before you and be the people you call us to be. We pray, Father, that we will be evangelistic in our lives and in our mission here, that others be led to Christ, that their souls will be saved. We pray, Father, we will be diligent in our work as individuals in the body of Christ, that the church may grow because of the example that you showed us and that the example that we show others. Be with us, Father, throughout this day and throughout our lives. In Jesus' name we pray and thanks we give. Amen. Amen.
Our next selection is I Am Sealed. I Am Sealed. That is what we all expected, that we hope for as Christians one day to get God's stamp of approval in that final day. One day I was bound in this world of sin, with no one to comfort my heart within. I was drifting afar on life's stormy seas, and life was so dark and gloomy for me. Oh, but now I am saved until the day of redemption, till Jesus shall come to take me away, and forever I live in that beautiful mansion, and I live with the saints in glory someday. My life was wrecked with burdens and care, and no one was there for my sorrows to share. But Jesus has come, and He entered my heart, and He placed there His love that never will part. Oh, but now I am sealed until the day of redemption, till Jesus shall come to take me away, and forever I live in that beautiful mansion, and I'll live with the saints in glory someday. Oh, but now I am sealed until the day of redemption, until Jesus shall come to take me away, and forever I live in that beautiful mansion, and I'll live with the saints in glory someday. Our next selection this morning, Where the Soul Never Dies. John 6:50 says, This is the bread that a man may eat thereof and not die. To Canaan's land I am on my way, where the soul never dies. My darkest night will turn to day, where the soul never dies. No sad farewell, no tears in eye, where all is There are some things I may not know. There are some places I can't go. But I am sure of this one thing, that God is real. God is real, for He has won. He's made me whole. Oh, His love for me. Yes, just like pure gold. Yes, God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Brother Epton, and I will be giving you the scripture reading for today. It will be from Colossians, the 3rd chapter, the 15th through the 21st verse. And I will be reading from the King James Version. And let the peace of God rule in your heart, to which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you, richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatsoever you do, do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by Him. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. I will ask you at this time to rise and be led in prayer by Father God.
Good morning, church. Good morning. If you will, let's pray. Our dearest loving Father in heaven, we come before you ever so humble, thanking you for the many spiritual and physical blessings of this day. Thanking you for your love, your mercy, your grace. Thanking you for sending your Son, Jesus, who chose to die a cruel death on the cross for remission of our sins. Father, we come thanking you for this congregation, thanking you for the love and kindness that has spread amongst it. Father, we come now asking that you be with those that are sick, afflicted. We pray for the ones that are downtrodden. Father, we pray for the ones that are homeless at this time of year. Also, Father, we pray for the ones that this man-made season has added pressure and caused depression. Praying, Father, that they will seek the proper help they need. Father, we now come praying for those that have lost loved ones, that are grieving this hour. We pray for the Young family, Father. We pray for the Butler family. Father, we pray for Sister Guy. And we pray for Houston Graven's family. Father, I pray that as a congregation we'll be there in the time of need. We know once the funerals are over, the crowds have dispersed, that we will need to be there and help you. Father, we ask that you go with us throughout this day. We pray for our national, our state, and our local governments, Father. We pray for our men and women in the military and for our lands, asking that you will send them back to us safely. Father, we also pray for the visitors we have here today, thanking you for sending them our way. But should they not share in our conviction, Father, our prayer is that once they have heard the preached word, that they will open their hearts and that they will be willing to be baptized before it's everlasting too late. Now, Father, we pray for our preacher this morning, Brother Harris, asking that you will continue to grant him with knowledge through the study of thy word. Father, that throughout this land, all the Church of Christ preachers will be teaching, and that will be teaching and preaching the same thing. And that you will bless them. Now for our elders and our deacons, fathers, and their families, we ask that you bless them and be with them throughout all the days of their life. Father, we pray for Brother Mitchell, the youth, and all those that help him. Father, we continue to pray for the children's home. Father, we pray for those that are traveling this day. We pray for our single ministry, Father. We pray for our Jamaica mission and the other missions in Haiti. We come now, Father, asking that you be with us as a congregation as we become more focused, that we'll be willing to open our minds and hearts this morning and receive that word. Help us not to be slowful and unconcerned, Father, in our studies and our work. Father, we ask that you go with us throughout this day. Help us to walk a straight and narrow path that will lead us to heaven. We ask that you forgive us of our sins. This will be our prayer. In the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Prior to Brother Harris coming this morning, I did not prepare a welcome song for Brother Harris because I just sang it prior to sitting down, which was Yes, God, and Greeter. But I know the audio room is really on point, so we're going to sing Hallelujah, Praise Jehovah. As song leaders, we're required to send our songs into the database back here. And sometimes when you do it, you don't know what's going to happen when you get there Sunday morning. So you may have to make a few exceptions. And this is one of those exceptions. Hallelujah, praise Jehovah. Hallelujah, praise Jehovah, from the heavens praise his name. Praise Jehovah in the highest, all his angels praise proclaim. All his hosts together praise him, sun and moon and stars on high. Praise him, O ye heaven of heaven, and his floods above the sky. Let them praise, give Jehovah, for his name alone is high, and his glory is exalted, and his glory is exalted, and his glory is exalted, far above the earth and sky. Let praise Jehovah, they were made at his command, then forever he established his decree shall ever stand. From the earth, oh, praise Jehovah, mighty floods, ye dragons all, fire and hail and snow and vapor, stormy winds that hear him call. Let them praise, give Jehovah, for his name alone is high, and his glory is exalted, and his glory is exalted, and his glory is exalted, far above the earth and sky. All you fruitful trees and cedar, all you hills and mountains high, creeping things and beasts and cattle, birds that in the heavens fly, kings of earth and all ye people, princes great and judges all, praise his name, young men and aged men and children small. Let them praise, give Jehovah, for his name alone is high, and
Jehovah. I like that. I like that. Give God the praise.
Yes, sir.
Praise his name. Praise him
Hallelujah.
for his mighty and wonderful works. Glad to see you today. I know we enter into a holiday season, but the Lord is still the Lord and God is still God.
Amen.
And he still comes first in our lives. And, this is a time that families can really do some serious bonding when we have a few days off and a little time together, we can make wonderful things happen in our homes. And we're trusting that God will bless our homes during these days and times ahead. Now, I wasn't going to say anything, but I really can't hold it.
Okay.
And I am a second great grandfather. I have a great granddaughter to go with my great grandson. And so I'm just excited about that. I might as well go ahead and get it out. Rather than let it come out little bit by little bit. So if I seem a little, off key today, count it to that.
That's good stuff.
I'm excited today about being a part of the body of Christ. I'm excited about families. Families are important. We spent this whole month and still have one sermon left to talk about families. I just really believe that if we get families right, then the world is going to be better. We're going to have a better time in this world, and God is going to do some wonderful things in our lives. Some years ago, an incident happened when a young man was stopped by the policeman. And he was beaten. Somebody videotaped the event. The policemen that beat him were acquitted of any crime. And a riot broke out that did tremendous damage throughout the entire area. Other people were killed in the riot, people that had nothing to do with what happened to him. And the black community were appalled by what was going on and decided we're not going to take that anymore. We're going to do something about it. And we have seen atrocity after atrocity. But the thing that amazed America, the things that caught the ears of newscasters around the country, and things that should even touch the hearts of every black person and white person in our communities, was this man who had been beaten like that and had been mistreated in such a way, is the one voice that spoke out to the crowd and said, "Can't we all get along?" Those words rang across the land. Those words are still ringing today. It doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge that things are not as they ought to be. But somewhere along the way, we do have to learn to get along. In our homes, we have to learn to get along.
Yes, sir.
In the church, we have to learn to get along. In the communities where we live, on the jobs where we work, we have to learn to get along. And if we want a better world, we're going to have to be better to one another. We're going to make a real difference in the lives we live. That wasn't the only atrocity. We've seen similar incidents in recent years. We often on pins and needles to see what racism and brutality will produce. This is bad testimony for our nation, bad testimony for our state and for our community. But that's not our worst problem. It's not the worst problem that families face today. is not the worst problem for homes in America. We have a worse problem than we really can control. With the right kind of effort, we can do something about it. The worst problem we face today is the turmoil and conflict and brokenness in our homes. Because the root of the issues will be found in our homes. We see the value in our family members, but our own selfishness, our own behavior, greed, and irresponsibility, quickness to blame others for our own faults, is not only dividing us, it is destroying families, and we are becoming more and more estranged from the very people that ought to mean the most to us. We don't talk, and we don't listen, and we don't help one another as we ought to. We want what each other has, but do not know how to ask for what we want. What about your relationships? Your relationship with your spouse? Are you failing in your responsibility as husband and wife? Are you up to speed in your relationship with your children? Are you making good on your duties as a parent? Is your life filled with resentment, jealousy, hatred, or racial prejudice? These things can weigh heavily on us. They can be a great burden on us. What I want you to know is that there is hope. The truth can set us free from unrighteous behavior, but it can also set us free from false religious practices and traditions of men, family wars, and sibling nightmares, and hopeless relationships. These issues can cause our worship to become vain when they captivate our attention, when we are supposed to be focused on giving praise and adoration to God. So wrapped up in our own problems that we don't see the blessings that we have received from above. Are you in bondage? Have you been shackled by the paralysis of family conflicts? Are you being asked to do things that God has never asked you to do? I want you to know there is hope. God has not left us without hope. God has not left us without help. The problem addressed by Paul in the text of Colossians 3:21, in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4, Colossians chapter 3 and verse 17 and 18. The problem that Paul reveals is a problem of families getting along together. Paul is showing families how to make it together, how to be successful together, how to navigate the course of life together. He's dealing with bitter husbands and fathers who provoke their children to anger and wrath, failing to bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. He is laying the groundwork for families who do get along and can get along and will get along. The key to this cohesive, united, strong, and enduring family is the husband, father of the family. Notice how Paul carefully navigates this whole scenario around the man of the house. I didn't just say man in the house, but the man of the house. We need to train our young men to become men of the house, not just a pair of britches in the house. We need to be concerned about the people we are responsible for, because from creation to today, God has placed a responsibility on men for the basic outcome of the families. When God was ready to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he raised the question, shall I hide from Abraham the thing that I'm going to do? Seeing that he is going to be a mighty man, he will command his children after him. God was saying Abraham is going to do a man's job with his family. He's going to see to it that his family understands who they are and what they are about and what their mission is in life. Every father ought to be about making sure the family has a mission in life. And that mission is clearly understood in the family. A mission of love for one another. A mission for caring for each other. For helping us along the way. Providing for those that we're responsible for. For taking responsibility for our own actions. And making good on our own promises. Sad to admit that we have not all, and we have not always made good on our promises, on our commitments. So Paul is addressing an issue that is of utmost importance. An issue that the husbands and the fathers must be the key to the success of the family. I know society has it twisted around, making the wife and the mama the key to the success of the families. That wasn't God's plan. God's plan wasn't for her to raise the children by herself and take care of the families on her own and make the sacrifices on her own and do all of the training and the rearing up and the bringing about. His plan was for her to do a wife's role, a mother's role, and for the man to do a husband's role and a father's role and a man's role and do something positive for the family. So Peter begins to address this same concern in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. After he has talked to the wife and the husband, he begins to broaden the scope of his instruction and says, finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, and be pitiful, be courteous. Talking to the family, wife and the husband, he said to the wife that you ought to be submissive. He says to the husband, you're to know the wife and dwell with her according to knowledge, that the prayers of the family be not hindered. God was saying, you the key to that family's appeal to heaven, and if you're not right, you're going to block some of the benefits and the blessings that the family is in store for, because God wants to bless our families. I need to say that again. God wants to bless our families. God wants to bring good into our homes. But sometimes somebody is blocking the door of those blessings. So to sum it up, he says, the end, not the end of the epistle, but right now he's saying, I want to spread this thing so that you don't get the idea I'm just talking to the husband and the wife, independent of the rest of you in the church. And so I want to spread this out so that everybody in the church knows that we have responsibility to God as to how we live as a congregation, as a people, and yes, as a family. Qualities that are essential in getting along. The word pitiful in the text, when you read Peter's letter in 1 Peter chapter 3, I want you to notice what Peter said. Look with me in verse 8 through 12. Let's just quickly here to get the context before you. Be of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful. Be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereto called, that you should inherit a blessing. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, his lips, that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. For the eyes of the Lord over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against those that do evil. Peter has just given us the key to getting along together. The key to navigate the course of working things out together and being a people that can be unified together. He moves this idea of how to handle conflict, preserve unity, and enjoy oneness in the home, in the church, and in the community. He gives us two major points that are full of truth to help us to get along with other people, even when our society turns against the church and turns against Christians in general, so that religion is made to be bad for people and the world is made to be good for people. And you hear people say that religion is hurting people, hurting society, and creating problems for many. It's not religion that's doing that. It's people that's not handling religion properly that's doing that. God doesn't hurt us. We hurt ourselves. God does punish us because of what we're doing to ourselves and to one another. But it's not love your neighbor as yourself that's causing us the problem. Amen. It's not loving neighbors ourselves that's causing us the problem. It's not putting God first that causes us the problem. It's not putting God at all that's causing us our big problem. It's not religion that's driving the world down the hill. It's not being the people of God as God would have us to be that's causing the world to get worse rather than to get better. And so we need a conduct plan for getting along with one another. First of all, you need a commitment to get along. That is to say, do you really want to get along? Do you really want to get along with your wife, with your husband, with your children, with your neighbor, with your brothers and sisters? Do you want to get along? Because if you don't want to get along, you're not going to get along. There has to be a desire to get along. See, there's a difference in wanting my way and wanting to get along. There's a difference in not being willing to accept anything else and getting along. What do you think would happen if everybody determined that the only way you're going to get along with me is I'm going to get everything I want? How many of us are really going to get along with anybody? It's a hard thing to manage, isn't it? And nobody gets everything he wants. But we have to be able to live in a world where we have to do without some things we would like to have and take advantage of the things we do have. Yes, even in our homes we have to do that. We may not always have the money to get everything we want, but use the money we have to get what we need and what we have to have until we can get some of the things we really want. But if we bid on getting what we want, we will lose what we got. And we end up not having anything. Oh, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, everybody's doing everything right and making the right decisions in life, and nobody's making a bad choice. But we have to have a commitment to get along. And this commitment to get along involves at least 5 principles. The first principle is we have to be harmonious with each other. That is, we have to be able to think the same way. If we're talking about peace, we need to want to have peace. Not just me have peace and you want destruction, but we both need to want to have peace. And then we will find a solution to have the peace. The second thing is we have to be sympathetic. We have to feel the same. I have to love you and you have to love me. We have to love each other. We have to want each other to have the best that's possible for them. The third thing we have to do is we have to be the same thing. What do you mean? You are brethren. Peter is pointing out that you are brethren. What does that mean? You're the same. What do you mean? You've been purchased by the same blood. You're in the same family. You have a connection with each other. It's not God's people and the devil's people. It's God's people getting along with God's people and working to keep the devil out of our lives. We don't want the devil running our lives. We want God in charge of our lives. Fourth principle is we have to react the same. He says be kind-hearted or tender-hearted one toward another. We have to act the same. I treat you kind, you treat me kind, and even when we don't get along in terms of agreeing and everything, we can at least express and accept each other's uniqueness in that situation and work through the issues. And then we have to learn how to treat people. See, treating people calls for humility. You have to be humble in spirit. That calls for husbands and wives and sons and daughters and mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. We have to be humble with one another. We have to recognize that I have to take some things I don't like sometimes. I have to deal with some things that's not nice sometimes. But I'll be all right. Number one, I'm going to be all right because it ain't going to go on forever. Number two, I'm going to be all right because God is still with me. Number three, I'm going to be all right because at some point, you're going to hear what I got to say. And so we're going to make it. This business of getting along secondly requires some guidelines. 2 guidelines need to be in place. Don't be so quick to retaliate. And then secondly, give a blessing instead of a curse. You know, sometimes sometimes don't you just want to say, instead you can say, bless you. I mean, now come on, y'all. I mean, sometimes the word that come out of your mouth isn't what you wanted to say. But if you're going to do this thing right, bless rather than curse. Encourage rather than discourage. I know you meant the best, but it didn't come out that way. And it's giving me a problem. And now there are other ways we say things, but they're not always the best way. Then I need you to understand that there's some things that help us in this process. It involves our mouth, our behavior, and our motives. So what Peter is pointing out is, keep your mouth reckon right. Keep your tongue from evil, and your lips that they speak no guile and no deceit. He said we have to watch our mouths. Our mouths cause us a lot of problems. Get us in a lot of trouble with one another. I just tell it like I see it. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm doing what the Lord loves. The Lord knows the truth, and I'm telling the truth. First of all, the real question is it really the truth? And then secondly, is it the truth I got to tell right now? And thirdly, is it the truth I got to tell right now the way I'm telling it? So our mouth can create some issues. But then our behavior, he says, turn away from evil and do good. Eschew evil and do good. If we're going to get along, we have to understand that there are some things just not the best way to react. Because they don't help the situation. I'm already angry. I'm upset. And I'm really waiting for you to do anything to give me justification for blowing up like I just got steam all in me and it needs to explode. And all I need is somebody to ignite my fuse, and I'm going to let you have all of it. But instead, he says, turn away from evil. Don't light that fuse. Back away from it, diffuse it, and let it calm down. And then the real thing he says is what you're looking for is important. You have to seek peace. That is, peace has to be your objective. That's what you're working for. Seek peace. Because if we are seeking conflict, and we know how to create conflict, but if you're seeking peace, you're looking for ways to get along. And when a person learns how to bring the situation into a peaceful environment, they get along with our more people. See, when we get along well together, we rejoice and suffer together. This was the thought that Paul was dealing with in the Corinthian epistle, 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 26. When he talks about we rejoice with those that rejoice and we suffer with those that suffer. The idea is when we get along together, we care about each other in a deeper way. And we struggle when people are struggling with us. And we suffer when they are suffering. We are bereaved when they are bereaved because we have this relationship together. Somebody said, why are you crying? It ain't your person. It ain't your family. But it's my family's family. I mean, we are part of the same people. We are the body of Christ. We are brothers. We have a relationship together. It hurts me because they are hurting. And our response to those that sin should not distance us, but should bring us close together. And notice, I did not say that a person's sin should bring us close together. I said our response to a person's sin should bring us closer together. Well, why would our response to their sin bring us closer together? Because that's where we captivate their heart. You know you did wrong. You know you hurt me. You know you misused me. But my response tells you I still love you. That you're still important to me. That I care about you. That I still want you in part of my life. Our response can bring us closer together. We don't know how much people care until something bad happens in our life. Isn't it a tragedy? That the worst has to happen before we're even on their radar? When every day of our lives we have opportunities to show people that I don't like everything you're doing, but I like you anyway. No, y'all not feeling me, are you? So when Paul told the church in 1 Corinthians to take disciplinary action, he come back in 2 Corinthians and says that you've done what you needed to do. It's done, it accomplished what you needed it to accomplish. Now you need to change the course and show love. Receive the person. Restore the person. Embrace the person. Love the person. Well, what are you doing, Paul? See, what you need to understand is you were showing love when you did the discipline. You did it because you loved the person, because you wanted them to change, because you wanted something to happen in a positive way.
Yes, sir.
But you have to confirm that love when the person has got the message. And in the confirmation, you come closer together.
Amen.
If we're going to get along, we can't stay in the rut of our struggles, our disappointments. We have to get beyond that. And we have to rise to another level. And the church has to rise. The home has to rise. So you think the only place that withdrawal of fellowship takes place is in the church, don't you? I got news for you. Withdrawal of fellowship takes place in the home a whole lot quicker than it takes place in the church. What do you mean? You ever, normally get your food with everybody in the family? Food sit on the table, you sit down and eat, and you come in one day because you haven't been acting right. Your food is there, ain't nobody there with you. You ever had these dreams about what's going to happen late in the evening, over in the night, and it don't happen? If families would transfer that superb knowledge of how to withdraw fellowship and then restore fellowship, the church will get strong. Because we would learn that withdrawal of fellowship don't mean I don't love you, I don't care for you, I don't want to ever see you again. It means you got to straighten your act up. It means you got to do something different. Your life got to change. And we can do better than we're doing. Note, if your child does not learn submission, obedience, and honor at home, the world may teach him or destroy him. That message is repeated throughout the scriptures, from the Old Testament all the way to the New Testament, God is warning the children and the parents of how to rear them. And if your father doesn't learn how to show love and care for the child while he is growing up, he may live to regret it when the child grows up, and the child may be scarred for life. Some fathers don't know how to do discipline. Some fathers don't know how to show love and kindness. Some do not know how to honor God's standards and by example and teach their kids how to obey God. So they're struggling that way. But not only are they struggling, the whole family is struggling. The children are struggling, the mom is struggling, they're all struggling because we haven't learned God's secret of getting along together. Children must understand, I don't care if you are a teenager, when your parents tell you to do something, they're not just bossing you. And you need to understand, they got the right to boss you, but they're not just bossing you. They're trying to get you through life intact and help you to become a person that you can be proud of down the road. If they fail in that, you're not going to like it down the road. You're going to say, if my mama had done this, if my father had done this, I wouldn't be in the mix I'm in. And they don't want you to have to say that. God doesn't want you to have to say that. And you shouldn't want you to have to say that. But note also, some children never forget their disappointments and their hurt. And I hate to think of how many times I must have disappointed my children with promises I could not keep and events I could not or perhaps did not attend. And times I was so busy trying to save the world and every other family in the church. Families in the community, I missed out on tucking them in, playing with them and just being around the house near them so I could say, quit, leave me alone, don't do that. I said, don't you hear me? I said, quit now. When they knew that they were getting to you and getting under your skin. And that was really love shall not asking for more. Some children go astray as a rebellion against what they believe was a lack of love and concern. Some sell themselves out to the devil so that by the time they become adults, evil has corrupted their whole nature. And the only remedy is prison, homelessness, and aloneness, or even an early death. In our families, we have got to do better. I feel that I'm a much better father now than I was when I had children to be a father to. Sometimes my heart breaks when I think of it, and there's no way to pay back that kind of a debt. We need to pay our debts when they come due. And they're due when our children are young, and when they're developing, when they're preteens and teens, and even in their early adulthood, they still need a father to provide guidance and direction. And we have to get along. And it's a sad thing for families to be so broken that nobody cares about anybody else. And everybody's fighting with one another. Problem addressed by Paul was that husbands and fathers who provoke their children to anger will reap the sad benefits of that provocation later in life. Note that Moses' brother and sister attacks and speaks against him. And they had two motives for their jealousy and displeasure. The marriage to an Ethiopian woman, which showed their prejudice, and the fact of the favor of God bestowed upon Moses, which showed their jealousy. And they cried out against Moses, and God intervened. And here's the beautiful thing. I want you to understand that you don't have to fight every battle for yourself. Just do right, and God will fight some of those battles for you. And there are some battles you're going to have to fight. But God can fight battles in a way you can never fight. God did with Miriam, is gave her the leprosy. And it changed Aaron's heart. And Aaron started pleading for this to end. And the very person they were talking about and showing displeasure with, and saying, do you think you're the only one God can speak through? You ever heard anybody shake their head and talk to you? Like, you think you're the only one this and the only one that? I do as much around here as anybody else. But it was Moses that went to God on behalf of Miriam and asked God to take it away. And God told him, oh, she got a bad wife. She can't, I ain't just going to take it away today. I will take it away. But she got to go through some of this herself. She got to know what it's like to be on the other side. And then God said, if I speak to a prophet, that prophet will speak what I say. But Moses ain't a prophet. Somebody said, well, Moses wasn't a prophet. He says, Moses I speak to not like I speak to prophets, but I speak to Moses as a man before me, face to face. Prophets get theirs by dreams and visions, but Moses get his from me. You don't challenge that. What are you saying? I'm saying God has given families a powerful blessing. But all of us don't have the same role. There's a difference in mom and daddy and sons and daughters in the home. What God says to mothers and fathers is different from what he says to sons and daughters. Amen. You can't be like, well, we got it just right to make a decision as you got. We in this family too. Yeah, you're in the family. But God can speak to you like he speaks to mom and dad. He gives them responsibility for all the decisions that are made in that family. And you are a part of that family, and you get input from time to time, but you don't get a chance to make final decisions in the home. You know, you remember Esau and Jacob. See, it's hard to get along when brothers take advantage of each other's weakness, conspire to defraud him of his rightful blessings, and brothers vow to kill the other as soon as opportunity permits itself. We have a sad thing going on in our world where we are killing one another, mutilating one another, and assassinating the character of one another. In homes, we stop speaking, and years pass, and we don't know anything about each other, and say anything to each other, and never check on each other. Can't we just not get along? Can't we put some stuff behind us? Can't we say I'm sorry and go on with life? Can't we realize that we can't have it the way we want it all the time? That there's going to be some tough days ahead. We got to make it even through the tough days ahead. When those days come, somebody have to say, I'm sorry. My family have family reunions. Reunions are generally every 2 years. I went to the reunions, but there are some of the reunions I didn't make because I stayed to do church work. My brothers and sisters said to me, said, you don't make it to family events like the rest of us. You know, I thought about that. I got 365 days a year to do church work. And I had just 2 or 3 days to do family stuff with the family. Can't I find a way to do both?
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It ain't all about you. It's about all of us. We got this together. Look at Joseph and his brother. Here God gives Joseph a dream. And his brothers get jealous because God gives him a dream. And not only do they get jealous, they conspire to kill him. And when they decide not to kill him, they sell him into slavery. We are selling one another out because we don't like what God is doing in their lives. How God is bringing things into their hand and how they're making it despite we thought they wasn't going to make it. You ever had somebody in your family, you just thought that when they were going to amount to anything and count for nothing, and they were going to always be on the begging side of the family? You looked around one day and they were the one the family had to turn to for help. Did it blow your mind? Did it change your thinking? Does it cause us to realize God is the one that does the blessing? And we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. The people we hurt today might be the only people that will help us tomorrow. Many homes have that situation. Many homes have that situation. Your lady once had a son. She just couldn't stand to take care of him. He had some problems. He's a real problem. His mind wasn't as clear as it needed to be, and he needed somebody to kind of guide him, and ended up with his grandmama. When I came into that area, he kind of navigated toward me, and I was the person that they all expected to kind of help him straighten him out and stuff. But you know what? When that mama died, the grandmama died, the daughter that didn't keep the son ended up with the son and all the stuff mama had. Now you didn't hear what I said. See, if you get the son, you get everything that goes with the son. And the person you don't think can ever help you may help you and never do anything in process. We have to learn how to get along together. Jesus, well, I feel look at the clock. I'll pay you back next time. Jesus, after doing some teaching, had two men that came to him. Luke reveals it in the 12th chapter. One of them said to Jesus, Lord, tell my brother to split the inheritance with me. And Jesus said, I'm not to divide on your property, first of all. But then he revealed to them a greater problem. That a man's life consisted not in the things that he possesses. See, the relationship of family must be more important than the material. Yes. We can still be family even if we don't get what we think is a fair share of family stuff. We can still be family. And remember that it didn't come from me, it didn't come from you, it came from both of our parents. And so wherever we are in life, we have to learn to get along. And let me tell you something. The people that think they got it all may find out they don't have as much as they thought they had. When life starts taking its toll, God has a way of correcting the records and balancing the budget. Taking care of our parents is a lost art in too many homes. Mothers and fathers who only need assistance often end up somebody that don't know them taking care of them. When the people that know them, been blessed by them, and reared by them, don't want the responsibility. I'm not talking about cases where they can't handle it. I'm talking about cases where they don't want it. When you take in your parent, and that Social Security check comes with them, family members want to cut.
Yeah.
When you taking care of all the bills and all the medical and doing all the kinds of stuff to take care of them. And then they think this is money for the taking. Like who's going to pay the bills for mom and dad if I give all the money to somebody else? Yeah. And they've given up their job to do for each other. We have to learn to get along.
Yes, sir.
Because if we don't get along as families, we're going to have a miserable journey down the road of life. And we don't need to make this journey by ourselves. The story that the scripture tells is a man that starts the journey and ends up all by himself. By yourself. You have nobody to help you get warm. By yourself. You have nobody to help you take care of the responsibilities. By yourself. You got nobody to talk to, nobody to listen to, Nobody to be with. Nobody to say I love you to. Nobody to hear your love from. That's a lonely journey to take in this world. Even when we come to the church, you don't make it to heaven by yourself. I said it now. You don't make it by yourself. You got to try to take somebody with you. You got to try to take somebody. I made in my mind that I was going to try to take all my family with me. And then I was going to try to find my friends and take them with me. And I started going to people that I had not talked to years ago. And I asked them to forgive me for not teaching them the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because I can't make it to heaven by myself. The mission of the church is to spread the gospel throughout the world. And Jesus Christ is knocking at the door of the heart of every man and woman, inviting them, come to all that labor and heavy labor, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn out. I'm meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest in your soul. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. You come to Christ by hearing his word, by believing him with all of your heart, by repenting of every sin, confess before men Jesus Christ as the Son of God. Be buried with him in the water of great baptism for the remission of your sin. Rise from the grave and new creature of the faith from life unto death. After a while and by and by, go home to live with God in those cities of bliss, beyond this veil of tears. No sickness, sorrow, pain, or death, and the former things are passed away. To go home to live with God after a while, it's necessary to obey Christ in the here and now. Why not say yes to Jesus right now? While we stand, the Savior says, come.
To stand